Hello everybody, welcome to Strachan's podcast, and perceptive viewers would have probably guessed I'm Strachan. I'm here today with my oldest probably friend, one of my dearest friends, my flatmate, Cameron Boyd. Cammy, I know how you are, I've been with you all day, but for the viewers at home and the listeners, how are you?
Yeah, I'm not too bad.
Aye.
Thanks for having us on.
No bother. How are you feeling? A bit nervous? Are you feeling alright?
I'm alright. It's a new experience. So
It is, aye. It's a lovely studio that we're in, by the way. It's gorgeous if you can see it all. It's kitted out with everything. Got complimentary Coke as well, Coca-Cola, Diet Coke.
Aye. Nearly went for a body and Coke, but
not yet. Maybe in a future podcast. Wait and see.
Aye.
Make sure we don't talk too much nonsense. But so we've got a lot to get on with, so we're gonna fire in straight into it. But basically, I just wanted to explain first of all the reason for this podcast, because I had a couple of strokes of inspiration to start this. I'm not sure if it's going to resonate with anyone, but I just thought it was a good idea and we thought we'd give it a try. So the first thing that sort of sparked my interest was I've got two friends, Colin and Paul. They started a podcast called Seismic Cinema, which is different to this. It's quite a nerdy podcast. If you're into stuff like Star Wars and that, they just talk about that, reviewing all that good stuff. And when they started it, I kind of thought to myself, well, maybe this is something I could do, because I always thought it was something that would have been out of my reach, especially recording in a place like this. So after that moment, I'm a big fan of other podcasts that's on here, Riley's Gaff. I'm basically just squatting in Riley's Gaff at the moment, has no idea I'm here, watching that, and he mentioned on the podcast about coming in the studio and renting it out. So just looking it up, not really expecting anything to come from it, but then here we are, made it.
Why not? We can only learn from it.
So. Exactly. That's one of the things I'm actually learning in life, is kind of encompassed in that, because I'm saying, like, I've spent so much of my life wanting to do things and not doing anything about it, and it's really fascinating. I was thinking about that when I was walking up the road from work the other day, the amount of people that want to do things and just don't do it.
Just too scared, and they don't want to get out of their comfort zone.
Yeah,
and it's
insane, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I like to believe any experience is better than no experience.
Aye.
So even a bad experience is better than doing nothing.
Well, it's a lesson, isn't it?
Because you're going to learn something from it, instead of if you're just sitting in your room all day. If you're not taking risks, you're not going to grow as much. So
yeah, exactly.
That's what I've kind of said to myself. That's what I'm kind of here as well.
Both of us have spent our fair share of time sitting in our bedrooms doing nothing really. Yeah. But yeah, we also, I mean, me and Cammy have been through our own challenges we're going to get into, but we also both, well, you came across a podcast from a guy called Steve Bartlett, Diary of a CEO.
That's right.
Yeah, he interviewed a guy called Mo Godat, who's got a really inspirational story, and talking about people coming through adversity and coming out the other side still happy. Like, he's probably the perfect example. Really traumatic story. We'll get into that again later, because I've got a kind of structure for this. I want to kind of start with ourselves and then move on to what we do to try and maintain our happiness. But we're really just, like, obviously if I'm doing a podcast, I mean, most of the people that are going to be listening to this, especially when it comes out, are going to be people that know me, but I think a lot of those people might not know the stuff that I'm going to get into about me. And then same with yourself as well, so it's even just good to,
most likely,
a bit cathartic for us. But we'll just get started right into it. So the first thing that we want to discuss is our early life and our childhood, because we both had different challenges. I would say I was probably facing more challenges at that time in my life than you were, but you also did have a little bit. We're both classed as neurodivergent, and it affects us in very different ways. I've got dyspraxia, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute, but Cammy, you were diagnosed with dyslexia when you were in school, weren't you?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So, it wasn't until kind of the end of school, sadly. Yeah. Which the whole way through school, sort of, I knew something wasn't right, like the back of my head, and I just couldn't put my finger on it. But I kind of had that kind of in my gut feeling that something wasn't right, and I didn't, because I didn't know what it was. I kind of felt, well, maybe I'm just dumb, or maybe I'm just daft. Yeah, and that's the problem with these things. If you don't know what it is, you can take it the wrong way. But I was fairly smart anyway in school, so I kind of got round it up until my hires in 5th year. I kind of got all the way through school up until that point,
And you can kind of coast through school up until that point.
Yeah, I mean, before that, it's kind of easy enough. But as soon as you hit hires, that step up into hires is a whole different ball game. And it wasn't until I failed all my hires in 5th year that I was kind of like, okay, what the hell happened there?
It's really weird because I don't remember you failing your hires like that, because I always had the impression of you that you were smart.
I didn't go around telling anyone. I don't remember the time. It was kind of just like I showed my mum and then showed my dad, and that was it. It just kind of wasn't talked about.
Yeah.
But that was before I get diagnosed with dyslexia still. So I was still, in the back of my head, I was like, I know something's not right here. This is not me, because my grades before that, I was always in the top classes. My standard grades in 3rd and 4th year, I get 7 1s.
Yeah.
I got 1 1 1 1 1 1. All the way, apart from English, I got a 2/3, which straight away, looking at that,
I should have known that something was there.
I know, looking at that, it's like, well, how's he getting 1s in every subject apart from English? Like, that's kind of, does that not tell you something?
Aye. For the younger viewers at home, by the way, before you had your national 5s and that, I don't know how they're graded, but we went from 6, I think it was. 6 and 5 was foundation, 4 and 3 was general, and then 2 and 1 was credit, and you wanted to ideally get a 1 or a 2. So I was kind of similar in school. When I did my standard grades, I got 1s and 2s across the board, or A's and B's, because you get A's, like int 2 and int 1 as well for certain things. It's weird the way they do it. Aye.
It's a bit complicated,
Same when I hit hires, I was the same. Like, I sat, like, I think over the 2 years I was there, I must have sat like 8 or 9, and I came away with 2 C's.
Aye, the difference is just it's crazy. They don't really, I mean, they tell you, but you're not ready for it.
Yeah.
But I mean, after that, the reason I failed them all was because I ran out of time in every exam. Yeah. Which was like, how, that's not fair. I didn't even get to complete the exam, so I kind of knew I was failing when the time ran out and hadn't finished it. Yeah. So straight away, that was kind of one of my main clues. I was like, well, why am I always slow to do it? But I could do everything. I could do all the questions and the problem solving stuff. I could do it, but it just took me longer. Yeah. So that was obviously when I had to go out my way and start saying to I think it was a guidance teacher at the time, Miss Kinnaird, I was like, something's wrong here. I need help, because I feel like I'm daft, but I'm not daft. I mean, I don't know where I stand. And then I finally got somebody to come in and do the test for me, and it came through. I've got it. Yeah. Dyslexic. I was like, eureka! Brilliant! Thank goodness.
It's like a relief, innit?
I know, it makes sense. I'm like, it makes so much sense. I was like, that helps so much. Yeah. So then you get an extra 25% in your exams. Aye. If only I had it in 5th year.
Yeah, 5th year, I know.
But what a lesson to learn. But I mean, I'm happy now that, like, the positive I take from that is, I failed all the exams, but figuring out I was dyslexic is going to help me for the rest of my life now. Now you're aware of it, you can work around it. And,
aye, definitely.
More reason to do a lot more reading. Like, I try to read as much as I can, because I can still get my skills better. Aye, that's
good that you still keep that up, actually, because I was the opposite. I was good at English in school, and I don't barely read at all. But the reason why I wanted to bring your dyslexia up was because I think there's a good potential for a lot of people out there that went through what you went through in school and have not discovered that they've got dyslexia. They just kind of think, I must be stupid then. And it's I'm kind of learning as well. We're both 28. Like, I was thinking to myself, like, I need to have everything figured out by the time I'm 22, 23. But it's never too late to get back into things. Like, I'm looking at getting into college now at 28, nearly 30 years old. And a lot of the time, I did college courses when I was younger, and there was a lot of guys, mature students in there as well doing it. So you're never too late to
even
start
better,
learning.
The older you are doing it, the more chance you're going to succeed, probably. The more life experience you've had, the more...
And you've grown up as well, because I know for a fact, especially when I was in school, I had no business trying to decide what I wanted to do in my life at that age. No. I had a clear idea. I
don't think most people have a clue what they want to do, sadly, in school. But depending on what subjects you're good at, it's like that's what your job.
I knew what I wanted to do in my life at that point, but it was not sit in school or go to a job. It was get drunk and do other extracurricular activities that were not permitted. But
or get into music. You were quite into music.
I was. Well, I still am. I still plan on doing that. But that's another thing. I've spent my whole life loving music and wanting to do music, like wanting to be a singer and that, and never went about it, which is crazy when you think about it. Like, if you want to do something like we're going to get into that, the logical thing is just to do it and you will be happier. But so many people spend time just not doing it and coming up with loads of different reasons not to do things. Like that's what I've done with the idea of a podcast for years, thinking, I'll never have the facilities to do that, but I'm sitting here right now, so
there you go.
It's it's
a win already.
Isn't it? That's one thing that I think is a big key to happiness, is just to do things. Like, it sounds so simple, but even if you just
do it. Have you ever seen that video on YouTube?
Shia LaBeouf.
Shia LaBeouf.
Do it, just do it.
That's the most important 3 words that you need. That's all you need.
Exactly.
If you're ever hesitant about a situation or anything, just do it.
100%. But so that was the issues that you faced in school. I was, like I said, we were on the same spectrum of neurodivergence, but very different issues. I have dyspraxia, which primarily affects your coordination, organisation, timekeeping and stuff like that. Like, people that know me know timekeeping is not a strong suit for me, like, constantly. Well, I'm a lot better now, because like that's the thing, when you get older and you know that you've got this problem, you're hyper aware of it. So like I'm kind of like, I'm really early or I'm really late. There's like no in between. Like so, but I've diagnosed with that when I was, I think, primary 1, maybe primary 2, 3, and looking back, I was either told it and it wasn't really something that registered in my head, or I didn't know at all. Like,
that's mental to think that. Or did you not say as well at one point you thought you might have been in denial of it? I think that was later on. That
was later on, but the way it manifested in my early life being something that I wasn't aware of. It's also, I say what kind of affects me, it also affects my personality a little bit. Like, I'm a very impulsive and reactive person. Still to this day, that's something that I've really been working on. But when you're a child, people that are reactive, it tends to manifest and like being bullied, because like that's exactly what a bully wants as a reaction. So I was just like a big bit of bait for a fish that was trying to get caught, man, for those bullies. Like,
easy one to catch.
Exactly, well. Just so easy to wound up. And then we told this story before. It wasn't just bullies that would wind me up. It was my pals as well. This guy sitting across the desk here, we used to go over to a little park called the Castle Gardens.
I didn't remember this until you told me that last night.
You probably blocked it out of your mind because it was so cruel.
I probably.
Me, Cammy, and our pal Scott
Johnston.
Yeah, Scott Johnston. You're getting called out right now.
Name drop.
You evil bastard.
It wasn't all me.
So basically, we used to go across the road to school, or across the road from the school to this park, and the plan was always, I don't know why I kept going, because obviously the same thing happened every day.
5 days a week, Monday to Friday.
Monday to Friday, constant torture. We go over, and then the game always turned into Scott and Cammy run away from Strachan, basically. And then because...
In the Castle Gardens.
In the Castle Gardens. And because of my dyspraxia, it's really hard for me to look for things, because it's really hard. It's like, see any menial task, it's hard for my brain to focus on that. Like, if I'm really into something, I'll sit and do it for ages, like if I'm playing a game or whatever. But like looking for something, I'm like, nah, my brain switches off. So I'll go to look for them, can't find them, and then I'll get really frustrated, and then I would just get wound up and get angry and all that. And used to would absolutely love it.
Yeah. Well, in fairness, I'm sure we took turns, but like I would find you fairly quick, and Scott would find us. But when it came to you, you would just never find us.
Well, see, I seem to remember it as you just loved running away from me. So was it like hide and seek then?
It was hide and seek, yeah.
So I was just really bad at hide and seek. See, the way I've remembered it is that you would run away from me on purpose.
Oh, right. No, it was hide and seek because we took turns. But
was it?
I mean, you were that bad at it. We used to just hide in a bush, actually watching you. Getting pissed off at yourself and just losing the plot. Like, I mean, that was so interesting to watch at that age.
I'm sure it was.
It was like, wow, man, he's losing it. And then we're right there in a bush just looking at you, and you still couldn't find us.
Oh, it's bad. But it's still the same thing. Like, see, if I'm looking for something, like looking for my keys or something, especially if I'm in a rush, I will lose it, man. I'll be like, oh, where are they? And just get really hit up. But I mean, that's the thing. I've learned techniques to deal with that sort of thing. Like, I'll start to feel it happening, and then I'll just be like, right, calm yourself down. Obviously, we'll get into that later, but that's how it manifested in my early life, and it resulted in like I had friends, I had plenty of friends, but it definitely resulted in me struggling in relationships when I was younger, and still to this day, still struggle in the relationship side of things. But So that's really how it started, and I had no idea, and then I kind of learned about it when I was in like primary 7, I think, primary 7 first year, and I was really in denial about it. I didn't really like the idea of having something wrong with me, and I just didn't like the category I felt like that put me in. Nowadays, I'm trying to just like wear it as a badge of honour. Like, I've got this, it is what it is. There's like plenty of people that have got it, and plenty of people that got other things, and it doesn't make you any less or more of a person for having it.
It's better to be conscious of it anyways, because when you do something like you might think stupid, like you can't find something, you can't. It's not you. It's like something wrong with your brain in a way. You can't. So
exactly,
if you're aware of it, it really helps in situations.
Yeah, definitely. But it's like something that I really just didn't want to accept, and going into school. First of all, it really was. It didn't really come to affect me academically until later on. But I remember fourth years when we started to do exams properly, and this was like a big formative moment. I won't name the person that done this, but basically we were sitting in class about to start the prelim, and then one of the classroom assistants came in to come and help me because of my dyspraxia, and it takes me long. Like, I need somebody to help me focus. Really, is what I need in a bit more time. But they'd sort of describe for me, which I didn't really need. So I was already kind of a little bit pissed off about that. But then they came in and just were like, right, okay, Andrew, we're going to go and do this. And then one of the people that I was kind of pally with, because like I used to be a bit of a class clown in school, to be honest, because I was so desperate for people's validation that I thought, oh, I'm going to just act out and they'll all like me because I'll be funny or whatever. So me and the other kind of class clown, he shouts out across the class, I'm not going to say the actual word that he said, but the way I describe it, you'll get it, and goes, oh, why are you doing that? Are you? And then a word that sounds like mango. And obviously I was in denial about that and was like, no, of course not, no. And then I don't even think I took the scribe. I think I said, like, no, I don't need one. And then, I mean, I still passed that exam, but that was a standard grade. I got to hires. I also wasn't studying either, and I passed all my exams without studying.
That tells you something about standard grades. They really aren't.
Aye.
They aren't that.
Exactly. And it also tells you as well that, like, I'm intelligent. I'm not stupid. Like, I've got intelligence. It's just, obviously, I can appear stupid. That's another thing that I'll get into in a minute, actually. But,
That's what I don't like about the dyslexia as well, because my communication skills with somebody, like, I can come off as if I'm stupid.
Yeah.
Like, if they don't know that, but, like, in my workplace, I mean, I would have conversations with managers or whatever, and then I got to the stage where I would just say it, look, I'm dyslexic, just so you know. Like, I know exactly what I'm thinking in my head, but putting it into words is like, it's so hard sometimes.
Yeah.
And I find it hard to find the right word, and I'm just kind of like, and it makes me look stupid, and I feel stupid as well.
Aye.
But I'm just like, I'm dyslexic.
Yeah.
Blah blah blah. This is what it is, you know. And then explain it, and then I'm fine after that.
Aye,
But that feeling of stupid, and it's like,
yeah.
And I can't even explain why, because I still can't get the words because I'm dyslexic, and then I'm like,
Aye.
So
I know. No, it does create a lot of situations where I'm really self-conscious. Like, there's loads of examples that I can give, but that really formed the way that I kind of went through school. Like, after that, I was just refusing any help that they would give me, and I was in denial about it. Like, I don't need help. And like I said earlier, it resulted in me not achieving anything like what I could have achieved. So looking back on that, it was really, really disappointing. But it affected me in so many ways, like, as well, because I've always been known as that reactive person. And again, I didn't know that dyspraxia did that when I was in school. I thought I'm just a hothead, like my dad as well. Like, I love my dad. He's kind of got a bit of a similar reputation for having a bit of a short fuse, as does my brother, actually. We're all kind of the same that way, but I think that mixed with the dyspraxia is just like a explosion. It's like, so I just had that all throughout school, and like even in our friend groups, even when I was older, like I was just always the guy that got the piss taken out of him. I was the butt of all the jokes. But I did explain that to you, and you said that you observed this as well. Is like, it did help me develop like a quick wit and a sharp tongue.
Oh, definitely. Towards the end of school, you became the quickest guy at comebacks. You built up like so much experience with it. You just became so good at dealing with it. Like, you were an expert at dealing with it. So you learned off it like really well eventually.
So it was a really weird training, horrible, torturous training program I went through.
It's a weird way to train to become good at something, but whenever somebody sort of tried to annoy you at the end of the years in school, you would just be on them like so quick, like, and I was like, oh man, that's amazing how why is he so good at that now? It's like, well, obviously, now you've explained. Like,
I've just basically dealt with that so long, and it's.
You had to.
But that's the thing. When we said this before, when we talked about this before. Like, I don't think anyone knew the amount of stuff that I was dealing with regarding dyspraxia in school. I didn't know about your dyslexia, and I don't think anybody else knew either. So
no, you don't talk about it. Really. I don't know if it's because you're kids or because it was back then. It just wasn't. People weren't making it an awareness of all these mental disabilities. Like I know nowadays, like the teacher in every class has got a list of every kid's sort of impairments, like which is really good to hear.
Yeah, definitely.
But back then, I don't think it was such a big deal.
I do think that they definitely were aware of it, but I don't think it's anything like the kind of support that they get now, for sure. I don't know if that was intentional or if they just hadn't advanced enough yet, but like I know we've got pals that are teachers, and I'm sure they'd be able to explain a lot better than us, and we don't want to go too deep into subjects that we're not experts on. We don't want to get Joe Rogan. So but basically that was how it sort of affected me when I was younger, and then I'll just kind of go into my sort of later life challenges. It's kind of an easier segue, and then we can come back onto your health challenges. But basically in my later life, I was still in denial about it, and I kind of just been floating about doing jobs that I don't really like, and as well it affected my weight too, because I've explained this to a few people, but not a lot of people know it affects. Like, I have like hypersensitive like taste buds or something. I don't know, like certain textures really are hard for me to eat, and annoyingly it's a lot of the healthier foods like vegetables and all that, or something that's got a lot of different flavours in it, I really struggle to eat. So it really affected me in my weight, and then that happens to most people that are big. I mean, you get some people that are big and are just able to take it in their stride, and I'm so jealous of those people. But it made me depressed, it made me anxious. Like even just now, like I've been kind of on a bit of a weight loss journey, so I've lost like a stone at the start of this year, but I'm still no thrilled about the idea of being on camera, and I'm feeling like, you know what I mean?
Did it not annoy you, like you were getting that label of being a fussy eater?
Oh,
like, none of us linked it to dyspraxia.
I still get annoyed about that. I'm still really self-conscious about that, mate.
The first thing that people say, you're just a fussy eater.
Yeah, I know. I
like
hate
you're
it.
just a fussy eater.
Yeah, because people you proper get looked down on for that, and people don't realise. Like, I don't think the people that do it will really understand the kind of effect that it has on people. Like,
no, I find it interesting. I mean, I would love to know what it feels like.
I
would love to know what it feels
like.
I
feel like such a weirdo, man. Whenever I have to, like, see if I have to eat in like a public setting, and I'll be like, oh, can I get a pizza, but take this off and take that off, or whatever, or can I get a burger and don't put this on it? And I'll just feel like the person that I'm ordering the food for is judging me. Everybody around me is judging me. And they're probably looking at me like, oh, that's why he's fat, because he doesn't have the salad on his burger.
I know, but now you're aware that that's linked to your dyspraxia. I mean,
I'm a lot better at it.
That's got to help you sort of.
Yeah, because I mean, like, that's the thing when it comes to
it.
I mean, like, as you get older, and this is something I'm definitely trying to work on, is caring about people's perception of me. Like, other people's perception of me is really something I don't really want to concern myself with. Obviously, not to extreme levels, but in general, like, if somebody thinks I'm strange or whatever, or you know what I mean, I don't really want to concern myself with that. But that's
definitely not if it's negative energy. If it's bringing you down too much, it can't be worth it, surely.
Definitely not. So it's definitely not something that I want to concern myself with. But communicating that across to people, it does make it a lot easier. Like, some people won't understand. There's just some people out there that will not understand. But most people in my life, level-headed people that you can communicate with, will be like, all right, cool, that's fine, and they'll kind of lessen their judgment at least. But there definitely are some people out there that don't, that aren't as able to understand it very well.
More kind of close-minded.
Definitely.
They kind of base everyone else on themselves.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like, they hold everyone to the same standard that they hold themselves, and that's just not. It's just not stupid. Like, it doesn't make sense.
It's not
like,
wise.
If you're gonna judge, like, it's like you don't judge a goldfish on its ability to like slam dunk a basketball. You know what I mean? One, yeah. Like, everybody's different, and you need to be aware of that. But so like, basically the main issues that I've had in later life was definitely feelings of, like, once I kind of hit me that I've got dyspraxia, I went to college. I did sound production because, like I said, I'm into music. I thought I got a C in higher music. That was one of the hires that I came away with. I thought, oh well, if I can do music, I can do sound production. I'll just learn to like make instrumentals and beats, and I'll sing over them and become a famous musician. That was just as easy as that. But I went to college, and it really wasn't what I was expecting at all. Stopped doing that, and then I just started working in a job that I did not like at all for a long time. Well, just jumping between loads of different jobs that I didn't like. And I just kind of put myself in a really low place by thinking like I'm never going to amount to anything, and thinking that like I'm always going to be this fat loser that's never going to do anything with their life, like, and just constantly like beating myself down with that.
That doesn't sound healthy at all.
It's definitely not. No. So it's really like I kind of got to the stage where I realised. I remember just going through to my mum and dad one day, like breaking down, like, yeah, I think I'm depressed. And I was off work for months and months at a time.
What age were you round about then?
I'm trying to remember.
Like 18, 19, a few years after
older
school?
Older than that, because I was at Webhelp at the time. And I think I must have been like early 20s, like maybe like 22, 23, I think. And I was off for like 6 months. And that's when you're 22, 23, you're in the prime of your life, that is no time to be sitting in your bedroom feeling sorry for yourself.
Something's wrong, you must have known.
Exactly, so... and then I ended up, I remember, I told you this story before as well, was when I went back to work after being off for months and months, and somebody, like, I think a few people bought presents for me, which was a nice idea. I was really, really thoughtful. And then one person, I'm not going to name them because I know that they didn't mean anything by it. They were trying to have a laugh, but it's just an example of how fragile my mind was at the time. What they got me was a tub of Man Up pills. And then I remember just getting it, and at the time I was like laughing it off, but I was thinking to myself like, oh, they all think I'm pathetic, and like that, you know, I'm much like they've all been working hard and I can't even come to work, and I'm, you know what I mean. And again,
you just took it the bad way.
Yeah, exactly, because we're gonna get into like how unhealthy that is and what you actually do in them situations now, but I just totally beat myself down, and then that was me off for another few months, just at that one little thing. And it was like, when you look at it, it was quite a silly thing for the person to do.
It was probably kind of almost like a trigger, but because you still had all this built up sort of depressed emotion. Aye. It would only took something like that.
Mm-hmm, exactly, because that was me coming back to work, and I hadn't really dealt with it. I was just like coming back to work because I was like, I can't sit in my house forever, I've got to go back, but I wasn't really mentally ready to go back. Yeah,
because if you're mentally in a good place, like something small like that, you would be able to deal with.
Oh, 100%.
Easily, like you would know that.
Aye, because that's the thing, like, I mean, I'm still self-conscious about my weight and stuff like that, no doubt, but if, like, somebody would come up to me in the street and, like, call me fat or whatever, I wouldn't, like, break down in tears or, like, get heavy depressed about it. I would just be like, well, I am fat, aye, but... I mean, what else is there to say? You know what I mean? Like,
I'm working on it.
Aye, exactly. I'm working on it. Aye, like it's like the kind of thing now where like it doesn't. It's like somebody said that to me back then. I probably would have reacted really poorly, but I've kind of got to the stage now where I can deal with that. But I still got a little bit of self-consciousness. But it really goes to show how weak my mind was at that time. But I've kind of just been basically since then, those kind of intrusive thoughts I've been battling with for a long time. And it's like, it really comes out in my relationships with people. Like, I have such a low opinion of myself. Anytime anything goes wrong, even if it's something totally out of my control, I'm always putting the blame back on myself constantly. And I still deal with that, even though I've got these tools to deal with it. It still happens. It's like a reflex that my brain has.
It's a natural thing as well to... Something goes wrong, you kind of go, is that my fault? It's natural as well. Aye. You maybe blow up a wee bit bigger than you should.
Oh, 100%, yeah. Aye, I'm definitely...
It's still a natural thing to always feel like a man wrong here, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, you get some people at the total opposite, it's like, it's never my fault, it's never me.
Yeah,
I mean, that's tragic as well.
Aye, I know.
Like, you're never taking responsibility for anything.
But I'm the opposite. And also, it's like, see, the more that you do that, you create a perception in that person's mind of you. If you keep saying to them that you're like, oh, I'm so terrible, I'm not worth anything, like they'll subconsciously like build that perception of you up in their mind.
That's the story you're telling yourself, and that's the story you're telling them.
That'll create a dynamic where that's how they feel about you.
Yeah, so it's not good.
It's definitely affected relationships even recently, me acting that way about myself. I'm definitely improving, but it's like even when you're even when you think you've got it all figured out, man, there'll be some days, like today I've had a brilliant day. Like I went to the gym 7 a.m, smashed 2 hours, got a haircut, came to this lovely studio, like I've had a great day, and when you're going through that and the endorphins are flying, you're like, I figured this all out. And then one little thing will happen and it'll be like, oh crap, right, okay, I've got to deal with this again.
Back down to earth.
Yeah, exactly, back down to earth.
It's the joys of life.
Aye, exactly, I know. It's like a roller coaster. Life is a roller coaster.
Easy
Ronan Keating said that once.
That's a good song, right?
So, basically that's kind of where I'm at in life now. A fat loser, I'm kidding. But we're going to come on to you now, Cammy.
Okay. What have you got?
So, well, it's more about what you've got. So it's a combination of things, really. The first thing that really started to affect you, I mean, like you said, this was actually something that happened in your childhood, so you maybe could have brought it up earlier, but it's something that really became a problem for you a few years ago, wasn't it, with your skin?
And you know what? Speaking about how you said you were in denial about your... I was the exact same with this eczema and allergies. Now that I think of it, up until I got really bad when I was working in the bakery, up until that point, I still like to think, no, I'll be fine, you know, even though I was eating stuff that I shouldn't be eating.
Yeah.
And then feeling really sick, and I'm still like, oh no, I'll be fine. I didn't want to be that odd person, you know, you just want to be normal.
Aye.
So I can totally get you there in that denial thing.
Yeah.
But I totally had to accept it when a few years ago it just got to the extreme end of it. I don't even know how to describe it. I've still not got the words to fully explain it. It's what I had to go through. It was like 2 years straight of my immune system was totally just almost collapsing.
Yeah. And that's the thing, at the time you didn't know that's what it was, did you?
I didn't know what was going on. Nobody knew what was going on. I mean, I was seeing doctors every week and nobody could tell me, you know. And the worst symptom was the eczema, obviously, which was just the most painful thing I could imagine somebody to go through physically. Head to toe, red raw, itchy as hell, 24/7. So I wasn't sleeping well. Didn't even have an appetite to eat most of the time because I was in so much pain. It's kind of like when you're in pain, your body's kind of in shock. It's not thinking about eating food, not eating. So even I was just getting worse and worse. And then I was working. All I really cared about at the time was the job I had because I'd worked really hard to get a job as a bakery manager, which meant a lot to me because I get sick of working as a plebe, basically stacking shelves for so long. And I knew I was
That's me, by the way. I'm a shelf stacker.
Yeah. Well, I got to the point I'd done it that long, and I was like, no, I know I'm better than this, so I need to prove myself, and I did. But I kind of overdone it. Even when I got the job, I was so hard on being the best department in the shop. I wanted the highest standards. Like I really wanted to go for it. Yeah. Because I knew that was achievable. Aye. Because I better not say it. But what was your question then? Was it just
basically just wanted you to talk about how you ended up, because basically what came out of that obviously was a really, really dark mental place, wasn't it? Which is understandable.
For years. I worked in that bakery just for over a year, and that was when it gradually just got worse and worse. I mean, I should have got out of that bakery within a few months, probably. But I didn't know that's what was causing it. Yeah. I became allergic to wheat, to bread, which I was surrounded by every day. Yeah. I mean, how does that happen? I've never had an allergy to bread. I've got allergies to like dairy and eggs, but just the overexposure to it every day, day in, out. For some reason, my immune system just couldn't handle it. Aye. And it just, I became get a new allergy. So you say that to the doctors and they still don't understand it. Yeah. It was wild. So I didn't. It's a really weird thing, and they didn't figure that out until it was already a year later, and my body was destroyed anyway, and I was so sick. I mean, I lost weight. Eventually, it was only a matter of time before my mental health finally just went.
It's going to catch up with you. Aye. Yeah. Because that's the thing, when you're going through it, it was the same with me before I realised that I had depression. You don't realise that you're dealing with it because you're just going through each day. You're just trying to get through the day. Like the way that I realised what it was.
I felt because it happened so slowly and gradually that I didn't really clock onto it.
Because you're in the moment. You're not really thinking about it. That's how I think it just boils up to a point where you kind of hit rock bottom because you're just kind of dealing with it every day. But I remember just feeling low all the time and not being able to put a finger on what it was. And then Aaron Lennon, I remember, the footballer, ended up getting checked into somewhere because he was depressed. And I was like, reading about what depression was, and I was like, that sounds a lot like what I'm dealing with right now. So sometimes it just takes like one thing. So was there like a specific moment in time where like did something happen where it was like, oh, this is getting too much now?
Well, to be fair, the mental side didn't really come until a wee bit later, until I'd kind of processed it all. But the pain and suffering I'd had to endure for like that year, and then it was a full year after that. My immune system was ruined. I was just reacting to anything. Like I was just allergic to anything. If I didn't get a good sleep that night, my body would flare up. If I ate something I shouldn't eat, or if I was stressed, my body would flare up.
Yeah,
like anything. Like I couldn't do anything with my life. Yeah, and that killed me. See, committing to going out with your friends or to any sort of activity, and I would always have to let them down and be like, look guys, I can't come out, can't do it. Yeah, and I can't even explain why, because you just won't understand. So
because we didn't understand. Like
nobody will. I mean, I couldn't even understand. The doctors couldn't understand. But I mean, the impression I got a lot of the time was, "Oh, just you'll be fine." And I was kind of like, I can't say and do that. I'm in total pain. I'm in like 7-8 in pain, constantly, head to toe, red raw. I mean, all I could do was sit in my creams and my ointments all day with my sort of washable bandages. That's my full day, just sitting, passing time. All I could do is pass time for it to heal, but it wasn't healing. It was still getting worse. Yeah, it's really bad. Like, we had no idea that you were going through that, because I was one of those people that was like, it'll be fine, man. And then I remember saying to you as well, like, my dad's a taxi driver, or was a taxi driver at the time, and you lived just up the road from Morrison's, but you would still have to get a taxi up the road because you were so beaten down from work, because you were working in this place. It was literally poisoning you. And my dad said he would see you, and he said that you could tell just by looking at you there was something no right. And I was like, and he would say to me, and I was like, I don't know. And then there was also the fact that your drink of choice used to be Tennent's, which is like full of hops and wheat. That's right. I drinking beer. And then you used to drink that, basically poison yourself. None of us had any idea, not even you. And then you'd be hungover for like 4 days, man. We were just like 3 or 4 days. I just thought that was just like fair enough. I can't handle drinking. That's what we all thought as well. We were just like, Cammy's such a shite bag, man. He goes out for one night and then he's hanging for 4 days, man. Who does that? And then obviously we realise you're literally poisoning yourself, and like I felt so bad for having that frame of mind. Yeah, it was unbelievable. Finally, this was like a year and a half after. I done a year in the bakery. It was about a year after I stepped down. A doctor finally did a blood test and says, let's test your allergies again. Why not? Yeah. Thankfully, just one of the many 8-9 doctors I've ever seen. Finally said, even the dermatologist, I was seeing a dermatologist for about a year and a half as well. And they couldn't do anything for me. We tried everything with them. But I knew, even saying to the dermatologist, I knew it was something inside me wrong. It wasn't like external. It wasn't something touching my skin. Of course not. I was like, no, this is so serious. But it was just some random doctor did a blood test. And he says, "Oh, you got a new allergy." I was like, "How's that happen?" He says that like he's exciting. You got a new allergy, by the way. We don't know. So finally, anyway, I managed to get the right medicine. Managed to get immunosuppressants, which have just been a godsend. And that's something I'll be just grateful for forever. How it's helped my life and just got me back. Gratitude, by the way, kids. Remember that for later. That's important. I feel the love for gratitude just for like modern science and medicine. Because what it's done for me is just amazing. So, but it didn't happen overnight. I mean, these immunosuppressants, they take like a year, 2 years to finally adapt. Dyslexic. You were close. I was close. One letter away. Adapt. I know. So they adapt the immune system over time, and it's finally calming my immune system down again, and I'm finally getting back to where I want to be, or where I used to be, and I'm just grateful, like to what I've come through, and to know how bad I can get. Like anything better than that. Even when I still get bad, I still get flare-ups here and there, but it won't even get me down anymore. Because I'm just like, well, imagine what it was like 3 years ago. I get through that. Exactly. I was like, this is nothing compared to that. So I'm like, not a problem. Like, fine. Good. But you, instead of just being, I'll get a flare up, and then that's you for a week or 2 weeks, you're just down. You know you can't, all your commitments, all your plans out the window. You've got to tell. The worst thing that really killed me is telling somebody, when I've committed to something, I'll turn up, but to say I can't do it anymore. So the worst, that killed me. Like, for my job, I was phoning in every week. I can't come in. And then they couldn't believe me. They're like, oh, there's something wrong with him. He's at it. He's doing something. And they wouldn't even believe my own workplace. And I was every week, I was almost in tears telling them every week, I was like, look, I really want to come in. This is really just unbelievable what's happening to me.
And they'll think you're bullshitting.
Yeah, they will. And I was almost in tears having to just keep telling them every week, but it just kept happening. You can imagine how much that's beat my mind down mentally. That's really, really destroyed me in the head, man. It was brutal. And then I'm just like, it's happened again. I've had a flare up. Yeah. And then they didn't give a crap. There was no empathy whatsoever.
Because that's one memory I had was I used to dread having to call and speak to my boss when I was off with depression and have to explain to them, I'm not coming back in. Like,
you just know they're not understanding it.
Yeah. I will say though, I did have a couple of bosses when I worked at WebHelp who were amazing. There was one guy, Charlie, who I don't see anymore, who I was literally like, I'm not coming back anymore, like I can't do this, and he got me in a meeting and was like, no, I'm not letting you quit, like you can do this and that. It was really, really good guy. Big Celtic fan, that was the only thing. Apart from that, great guy. But he's brilliant guy. But I just used to dread having to phone up and make that phone call, so I can totally relate to you there. And
to having to do it every week as well, and letting your department down and all that as well. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's just brutal.
Letting people down in general is a horrible feeling.
It is, and then to be fair, I mean, I think this was before they figured out it was a problem with my immune system, so I didn't even really know, but it was just horrible time. I honestly, I'll never get the words to explain how bad it was. Mm-hmm. I don't think you would ever know unless you went through it yourself, like the pain, suffering, the pain I was in. It was ridiculous.
And that's the thing, 'cause
unbelievable, man.
We're going to get into something else in a minute, and like you, with what you've been through, you are one person that knows what pain is. We could actually kind of segue into that now, because like that's people listening to that are probably thinking that's so horrible, man. I hate how you had to go through that, and that's not even all of the story. There was another thing that happened, and it's mental. So this is the source of the
life. Just keeps beating you down.
I know it does. Well, it keeps beating you down. That's for sure. And I keep beating myself down, and life beats you down.
You still got to smile.
That's it.
I know. You can only be miserable for so long. That's how I kind of looked at it. I was like,
like being miserable is a total natural reaction, but if you take all the emotion out of it, it is so illogical to be miserable. Like it achieves absolutely nothing. But obviously, when you're in the moment, like I still get it. I still had it a little bit at the weekend, man. Like when you're in it, it's really hard to come out of it. But then if you're able to just take a step back and look at yourself, it's like, what am I doing? I'm wasting time here, just being regretful or being anxious about the future. Yeah,
it's kind of like your chimp brain, like your initial thoughts, but you've got a logical brain that can kind of overpower that. But sometimes it just takes a bit of time just to process it.
Yeah, that's it.
But it's not. You can't just ignore the feelings. You know, like you said, it's natural.
You've got to process them.
They're going to happen. You're going to grieve over certain things, and it's just going to take time.
And you want those feelings to be there, because you can't experience good things if you don't have the bad things.
Yes, spot on, and that's balance.
But before we go right into all the good happy stuff, because we're no through the depressive stuff yet.
I mean, I don't even enjoy talking about it too much anymore anyway. I've kind of get past it, but
I know.
We'll go on. We'll move on.
That's the thing, like obviously.
Keep it entertaining.
Our pain and suffering for your entertainment. But it's like, I think it's important to talk about these things, because like both of us have got things that are quite unique, especially you. Like you're literally like, you've got a professor that we were looking through his credentials, and he seems like he just does everything. Like looking at you, because you're like a special case at this point, isn't it?
Yeah, well, that was only a letter I got. Was it the other day? 2 nights ago? Yeah.
And you were showing me, and you're like, look at this guy, man. He's like the head of everything. I don't know how he has much time.
My case has been referred to a professor in Edinburgh University or something. Wow. Yeah. Nice one.
So it can only be a good thing.
It must be interesting.
Unless they're wanting to take you in and do experiments on you or something.
I wouldn't mind that. If it helps somebody else.
That's it.
The same state as me.
Definitely an extreme way of being of service to people. That's for sure. Donating your body to science, but
we'll see. But
so basically, what happened? Because I remember the night that it happened, and it was mental. I was like, "There's something deadly wrong going on here." You were just in some amount of pain, and it turned out that you had fractured your spine in so many places.
I had 6 fractures in my spine. Yeah, and 4 of the fractures were just normal fractures. 6 of my vertebrae, I'll say.
Aye.
Like, so you can see an X-ray. 4 of them were just normal fractures, but 2 of them were compression fractures. So the whole vertebrae just collapses, and that's it. It's like that forever.
Yeah.
Like, that's why you'll see when you see like old ladies, they've got like really big hunchbacks. Like they've had osteoporosis and they've had loads of fractures.
Yeah.
But your bone won't heal after that. It just heals in its broken position. That's why they're so bent over. So I've probably lost a couple of centimetres of my height.
Yeah.
I think I'm not actually measured it, but I've probably lost.
Hopefully you're still 6 foot or over for the Tinder profile.
I don't know. I've just still put it down.
But it was really weird. The weirdest thing about it was nothing seemed to happen to you. Like, you had this what appeared to be a really traumatic injury. Like, I remember you were saying your shoulder kept popping out and all that, and I was just in my bedroom like trying to play FIFA. Like, what the hell's going on through there, man? There's something really wrong. And I was kind of going through like, are you phoning the doctor? Are you doing this? Are you doing that? And you were just like, like just getting hundreds of pain. And then eventually the ambulance came up and took you away. And then we don't want to go too much into that, but luckily you were able to get taken to a hospital that was able to look after you. And
yeah, I don't even know if it's worth mentioning, but the noon A&E sent me home.
Yeah,
with a broken back.
Aye,
with some painkillers.
Aye, yeah, some painkillers.
I mean, I will mention it because that's just, it was unbelievable.
Aye,
it's wild. But luckily, my dad and my stepmom came down the next day because we're coming down to visit, and my stepmom's a nurse.
Aye,
and she's like, "Oh, we'll get you to a good hospital."
That's one thing you've got to be extremely grateful for. Because I always say, if you didn't have them there, you could have been in a wheelchair.
Anything could have happened. It's scary to think, but I mean, they're big Christians, and they said it was God.
Yeah,
and why not? I mean, it just, what a coincidence they came down the next day. Yeah, like mental coincidence. So
that's true.
For whatever reasons, that just worked out for me. And I got to a really good hospital and got the treatment I needed.
It was mental actually, because we were really worried about you at that point, because I never really thought about it, because you were on really, really strong painkillers. So
I lost the plot.
You were losing the plot, man. I forgot all about that. You thought that the nurses and that were trying to poison you and that, weren't you?
Yeah, I had to get a psychiatrist.
You were texting me like, Strachan, I've got to get out of here, man. They are trying to kill me, and I'm like, nah, mate, you're in a good place, man. Calm down.
I were all just trying to say that.
I mean, I was like half worried, and I was half like, this is hilarious. But at the time, because I knew you were in a good place, and you've kind of got to laugh. If you don't laugh, you'll cry.
Obviously, saying that, I wasn't listening to you. I was like, what I'm saying. I was hallucinating. I was off my face on morphine. Right? So morphine does crazy things, and I was on a lot of it because the pain I was in. It was pretty bad. Yeah, pretty bad's an understatement. I know. I don't even know how to level the different types of pain I've been in my life physically, but that morphine messes you up, man. I mean, it's good stuff. Like, it's good, but
I bet it is.
It absolutely messed my head up. Hallucinating. I was seeing people in my room, like, and everything. And then there's the funny story where I actually packed my bags and got up and tried to escape from the hospital with a broken back. But I was so high on morphine. I was walking. Like,
it can't have been that hard to catch.
No, well, 2 security guards were following me the whole way through. But they couldn't touch me. But I knew they couldn't touch me because they would have known I had a broken back. So I was like, I can get away. They're not going to touch me, you know, because I was thinking about everything. I was like, nah. So I tried to escape. I got all the way to the front door, and then I kind of stopped, and I get a lot of reassurance to go back up to my bed. Yeah, that's a story. I bet you
I'm sure you said that the people that were looking after you in there were doing a really good job.
The doctors were, the doctors had all my faith and trust in. Like, as soon as a doctor came into my room, I was like, oh, please talk to me, spend time with me. For some reason, it was the nurses, but I mean, I don't know why. I don't know why I kind of get a weird feeling about them. But I did get a great treatment from the doctors.
Yeah. But I know that's like
that was an experience I'll never forget.
It's weird how, because we had a kind of run through of what we're going to talk about, and I don't know why that didn't come in my mind, because I remember at the time I was laughing at some of the mental stuff you were coming out with, but I was really worried about you, because I was like, I hope I hope this isn't him for the rest of his life, man. He's just going to go off the rails. But I know it's now you can look back on it and have a laugh about it.
Well, the nurses thought I was a proper lunatic. I mean, because they didn't know me.
Yeah. Did they not think you were like a junkie or something?
Or schizo or whatever. Yeah. They proper just thought I was. So I could tell they were thinking that just by having a conversation with them. So I was like, I was like, what? I'm not that. And then I was like, this
well,
is
no
all,
wonder
this
you
is
were
all
having
messed up.
bad feelings about them then.
Because they were looking at me, giving me weird looks and treating me that way as if I was something.
Yeah.
And I knew I wasn't. I was like, I'm not. But I didn't know what was causing it.
Yeah.
They could have just said you're on morphine. Somebody could have at least explained what morphine does to you. Nobody did. They just given it.
Yeah.
Like, that could have solved everything if I just knew, oh, it's morphine, you know?
Yeah.
But no.
But if that didn't happen, we wouldn't have this funny story.
Aye. Oh, that's
But so at that time you just had a broken back and you were like, you didn't know why. Do you still to this day know what the traumatic like event caused your back to break? Do you know what happened? Like, did you fall off a bed?
Yeah, I flung myself off my bed.
Yeah,
and then that's when it happened. But
aye.
But
what was this like? Did you consciously fling yourself off the bed, or
I don't even? It's hard. I remember the night. Another night I couldn't sleep. My eczema was red raw at this point. I was in a bad place. My eczema was really bad anyway.
Aye.
So I was up all night. I remember just sitting up and just scratching the
Aye,
hell out of myself, and then I've just felt really sick. And then I don't know why, but I went to fling myself down just in anger or whatever. I was just like,
oh yeah, kind of tossed and turning.
But I thought I was flinging myself, like I was like, kind of in anger. I was like, oh, fucking. So I flung myself into my pillow. I thought it was my pillow, but I actually flung myself off the side of my bed.
Jesus.
And then I just blacked out. I don't know if I hit my head off the wall or something. It was a wee sort of gap where I've got a wall.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
So as soon as I lost consciousness, my body. See, if you're not conscious, like your body isn't going to support itself. So I would have just flimsed into this crack.
Yeah.
And right on top of my back, and then I twisted it as well as bending it, and then thankfully I don't remember it.
That's wild. Salmon flopped and hit your head.
Yeah. I don't remember it. I mean, thankfully.
That's mental, man.
Yeah.
But
it wasn't until I woke up and then I was like, crap, I can't even walk.
Aye.
And then I was like, NHS 24.
Aye.
I don't like to be a nuisance, but I don't think I can walk.
Yeah.
You know, I always underplay it, you know. And
aye.
I was like, no.
Yeah.
Get an ambulance.
Aye, that's insane, man. But aye, so
that's not trauma. That you shouldn't break your back.
I know. I was meaning trauma, as in like the physical trauma that caused you to break your back.
No, I'm on your point. But I mean, the doctors were like, when I first got to the hospital, were like, you've been in a car crash, or what's happened to you? You've had serious trauma.
Oh yeah.
After they
not traumatic enough to cause that
injury. Yeah. After they did the MRI scan, and they were like, you've something really bad's happened to you. I was like, flung myself off the side of my bed. And they were giving me that look again as if not to believe me. Like, this guy's off his nut and that. I was like, no, I did. It was offside my bed. But the doctors believed everything I said. They were brilliant. Yeah. As I said. So, like, trauma. What have you done? What have you done yourself? I was like, no, it's offside bed. I was like, you just don't break your back off the side of your bed. So then that's when the wee heads and the doctors started thinking, right, there must be something else wrong with this guy. What's wrong with him? Yeah. And then we go on to the next step.
Yeah, I know. So it turns out that you've got osteoporosis. You kind of briefly mentioned that earlier.
Yes.
About what osteoporosis causes.
Osteo means bones. Porous means porous, like less density. They're not as dense, which means they're easier to break. Yeah, more brittle.
Yeah, so basically that's the other thing. It's called osteoporosis as a medical term, but you hear people calling it brittle bone disease, and it's more commonly seen in older people, and especially older women. And you're a 28-year-old man with that disease, so that's extremely rare.
It's rare, yeah. Yeah, it's not heard of really.
Yeah, and it's caused a lot of problems in your life. Like there's certain things that you just can't do. I don't know if this is we don't know if this is at the moment or forever, but certain things that you just can't do. Like
it's kind of unknown territory now for me for the next wee while.
Yeah,
to see what the medicine does. So I'm hopeful enough because I'm still young.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel
that's the weird thing is because it's a disease that most people get at much later on in life. There's not really much of a amount of time to pass for them to kind of see if you can heal. And obviously you've got a lot more mobility still than they would to be able to do things that potentially could
but I mean
improve it.
The statistic for the medication is I think it's about 60% of people manage to recover to like an average level. But these stats are all based on people that are over 60, over 70. Yeah. You know, so I'm aware of that. I'm like, well...
Yeah, an average level for them is different to an average level for you.
Surely. So the doctors haven't really talked about that much, but I'm like, surely my chances are much better than that.
Yeah,
I think they are, so I'm pretty hopeful.
Yeah, that's good.
That'll be all right in a few years once the stuff I take kicks in.
Well, that's it. Keep taking that calcium. Keep taking your immunosuppressants, man. Hopefully you'll be back to your old self, man. But
yeah, that's what I'm hoping for. It's a brutal diagnosis to get after what I've just had to deal with.
Of course. It's like
I hate even talking about it. It's just so depressing.
Yeah, it's hard, and like that's why I think your story's so inspiring at the moment. Just because you've been hit with something that so many people. I mean, I know, like I'm very depressed and very self-critical and all that. I mean, I'm wondering what the hell I would have done if I was in that position. Like, I've not really told a lot of people about this, but I have attempted suicide before, and with dealing with a lot less problems than that. So I don't know how I would deal with that. So the fact that you're still smiling, you're in here on a podcast to talk about it, like you're seeing meaning in your life with being dealt such a harsh blow, I think is really inspiring. And I wanted to bring you on here because I think if you're able to be happy with all the bad news that you've had, and I'm not saying that you're like, I mean, there's always somebody that's worse off. Yeah. But I think it can help a lot of people out there that are struggling to hear that if you've been dealt all these harsh blows and you're still able to, be happy, you know what I mean?
It's about having a good mindset. I've still got good control over my mind.
Yeah.
Thankfully.
Aye, that's it.
I've not lost my head.
Yeah.
Well, I did when I was on morphine for 2 weeks, but I've still got quite a strong head and mentality. So
definitely, if you're able to come through that,
that counts for more than enough.
Yeah, but I think
good mentality.
There's some people out there that are luckily just have a strong mindset. Like I think I mentioned this before as well. Our pal Jamie, just I've never seen him downtrodden once, apart from that one time when he poured juice on my shoe back in school, and then my reaction was to fling a massive rock at his back. It's the biggest overreaction ever. There's classic Strachan being heavy reactive. That was the only time I'd ever seen him lose his cool.
I tell you what, I've got one for you. Me and Peter Togwell made a massive snowball, to build a snowman. That huge snowball, bigger than us, and we dropped it. Well, this is when we were in school. After school one day, and we kind of got Jamie to the ground. I think he already slipped and hurt himself, and then me and Toggy dropped this huge. It was almost like an ice ball on his head, and it nearly knocked him out. And we had to run away. He was that raging. That's probably the most raging. I mean, if you ask him about this story to this day,
I'll ask him about that in the group chat in a minute, man.
He'll tell you about it, and it was the most raging he's ever been at us. He hated us, and he went home to his mum and told his mum and all that, and then she was raging at us. And, oh my goodness!
It is mental, the really evil stuff you do when you're a child, man. Yeah, just to have a laugh. You just don't have any. You don't have any boundary, man. You just keep going and keep going.
Yeah, that was funny. Jamie was raging. He was like, "You could have killed me," and all that.
These are obviously the 2 times I've ever known Jamie to lose his cool. But any other time, he's just kind of floating through life, chilled out, happy, and all that. Just always seems to be in a good mood whenever I see him.
Yep.
And there's other people that, like myself, who just do not have those natural skills. And luckily for me, I've kind of recognised that, and I've gone out my way to learn that through just speaking to people or research and stuff. And that's why I thought a podcast like this would be handy, because we can talk about the things that we've both kind of had to look into to get ourselves to a better place. And people hearing that might think, oh, that's something I can look into, or that's maybe something I can apply in my own life.
It doesn't just come from nowhere, really. I mean, I did a lot of reading and a lot of work, and I even went on a counselling course for 12 weeks. I mean, I get really into all this sort of self-help and helping others as well, more than anything. At first I got more into helping others, and I didn't even help myself enough, which was a bit stupid. Yeah, as if helping other people was going to fix me or something.
It is rewarding though. Helping people is rewarding.
But it was the same information. It was the same knowledge I was learning to realise I can use that on myself. I did a lot of work on reading stuff. I mean, that doesn't just happen out of nowhere, I must say. Yeah, you've got to read the right material and do the right practices.
Like me myself, like I said, I'm not somebody that reads a lot. I can read if I want to. I've read big books and stuff like that, but I found out more. I ended up going to therapy and watching a lot of stuff and that sort of thing. So that there is
watching stuff's good. YouTube's
The best thing I ever done, to be honest, though, was I had one-on-one sessions with someone, and like it's so different being able to just get all your issues out without any judgment, and them to apply really good techniques to you. Like, it's so good. Like, even if you hear stuff that we're going to say and think, oh, that sounds good, I can apply that. If you're really struggling, I would 100% recommend going to see somebody, because like it is, like, it's not cheap, but if you think about like how much money you would spend if you're in a really dark place to no longer be in that place, you would probably put all your money in there, because your health is the main thing. Health is wealth. So I like basically we just kind of wanted to talk about like what our idea of, or like how we think the kind of best way to be happy is, because like we mentioned, we talked about Mo Godat, who is now kind of an expert on happiness, is how he's either described or describes himself as, and like we basically just want to discuss how the best way to kind of live a happy life as possible. Like, again, we're not experts, we are going based on other things we've read and people that we've talked to and we've learned, but like, first of all, Cammy, like, how have you got any sort of idea of how you think, you know, is a good philosophy for living a happy life?
I don't know if I've got a philosophy. I'm not sure about that. I'll give you an example on the breaking my back situation. Then turning a negative into a positive is something I'm quite good at.
Yeah.
I'm using this injury to actually to get really healthy and really fit. It's gave me the most motivation I've ever had to work out and become as healthy as I can. Yeah, like to the max. Like, I'm bossing it. Like I have been to start this year. Well, I had to start bossing it ever since I got out of hospital, so I could walk again. Yeah. That's going into a different story, but when I could only walk for like 100 yards and back to the house, and that was me done for 2 days. Yeah. That's how bad it was when I started, but that was my motivation starting. I was like, I'm turning this into something good. Yeah. You know, and I don't know, that's just something that I do. I flip. It's like I use bad things to get motivation. Yeah, it's like to run away from the bad. Yeah. It's like your perception. Like, that's what the logo for this podcast actually is, like a little glass with some liquid in it, and the whole idea is like a glass half full, and it's just obviously about your perception of things. So that is a big thing. If you look at something and only see the negative, like we're actually recording this on Valentine's Day, by the way, so it's quite a good example I can give. Like, I've had like one relationship in my life. It didn't go very well, and it didn't last very long, and it's kind of given me commitment issues since then. But basically, so I've never been in a relationship on Valentine's Day. So probably 27 out of 28 Valentine's Days I've just spent them. Well, actually not 27. When I was like 4, I was like, ooh, girls' cooties. You know what I mean? Like, most of my Valentine's Days where that was a concern for me, I was just like feeling that down about myself and depressed and all that. Man. But that's because I was spending all my time looking at, like, say, a person that I really liked and I wish I was with them on this day, or just the fact of looking at all these other people that are in great relationships and I've not got that and I wish I had that. But if you just kind of look sometimes you don't even know what you're wishing for, but that's
100%.
That's the crazy thing.
Aye,
you don't know.
I know.
Like, the relationships could be terrible and toxic.
Aye.
Like,
yeah, definitely.
Like, just making bland wishes like that, you need to be careful.
Aye, exactly. But it's all about, like, I'm spending this whole time looking up at things that I don't have, but if I actually change my focus and looked around and see, actually, you know, like, unlike Cammy, I've not got like all these horrible physical ailments that I've got to deal with all the time. Yeah. Like, I can be grateful for that. I can be grateful for the fact that I've got a house, I've got food, you know, I've got all these great friends, other people in my life, I've got these other great connections. There's so many things that you've got that you can be grateful for, and that's a big thing. Gratitude as well, just taking time to recognise how lucky you are to have certain things.
That works so well. That works so well. I mean, family and friends is something I can always, like, every day, I'll always think, I'm so happy. Yeah, I've got good friends, good family, brilliant, and I'll just spend time thinking about the stuff I need to be grateful for every day. Yeah, instead of thinking. I mean, I'm at the stage now where I don't get down about thinking I want this, I want that. It doesn't really. I've not had that for a while, actually.
I'm very much similar. I mean, I definitely do have times where I go back into that mindset, but the way I'm able to bounce back from that is a lot quicker. Like, I used to have something could trigger me, like I said, and I could be off work for months doing nothing. Like, I've not taken a day off with depression, I think, or anxiety. I think I had one day off this year, which for me is really good. Like, I used to take like weeks off, and so it's all about bouncing back from like bad times, basically. But it's like the other thing that I wanted to mention as well is like when we watched the Mo Godat podcast, I feel like I'm just
kind of dyslexia over there.
It's just you're transmitting it to me, man. I'm catching it.
Mo Godat,
Mo Godat. I know the dyslexic guy's telling me how to say it. And I feel like I sound like I'm just pure plagiarising this guy, by the way. But he's incredible.
It's one of the best podcasts you'll ever watch. Which I'll recommend it. The Happiness
After this one finishes, don't click off yet. Keep watching this. Right, but after this one finishes, go and watch Steve Bartlett, The Diary of a CEO, Mo Godat. It's so good. Yep. But he basically has this thing called the happiness flowchart, which you're basically like, it's like a 3-step thing. So you need to basically, I think basically it comes down to 2 things. You need to see the truth in your life. Like you need to assess your life and look at like what you've got and what you can achieve from that. And then from there, you want to, once you know what you want, you need to, if you can achieve that, do it. It's as simple as that. Like there'll be times where you look at things and you maybe won't be able to achieve them, but like if that's the case, then you need to kind of just let that go. But anything that is achievable that you want to do it. It's a very simple, logical step, but it's basically like the way you have a perception of an event, right? Say something happens, like for you, obviously you had an accident and broke your back, so your perception of that event would be, oh, I've hurt my back and I can't walk, and in that time you're like, that was true. So if your perception of the event is true, then the next step would be to say, can I do something about this? So like I said, in most cases your response would be, yes, I can do something about it. Well then, go ahead and do it. Like my thing would maybe be like, I'm overweight and I'm depressed about the fact that I'm overweight. Okay, is that true? Yes, that is true. Can I do something about it? Yes, I can do something about it.
Great news.
Aye, exactly. So what do I do then? Because I've been doing this every morning. Like, because like I said, I've been on a weight loss journey. I've been going to the gym like 4 or 5 times a week. If I ever feel like I'm struggling or really can't be bothered, I just go, well, I'm depressed because I'm overweight. Right, can I do something about that? Yes, I can go to the gym and I can stick with my calories today and eat good food. Right, okay, so I'll go and do that.
That feeling of depression stems from the fact that you're not doing anything about it as well, and you know that you can do something about it, because you know fine well that you're not trying hard enough.
Exactly.
And then that's more depression on top of depression. Like, that's like, so you kind of have to do something about it if it's getting you down.
Yeah.
I believe the negative emotions are there to guide you. Like if you're upset about something or something's getting to you, it's kind of your brain's way of telling you to do something about it. Or if it's something you can't do anything about, just accept it and kind of move on. And
the problem is, a lot of people aren't taught that. They just don't know what it is, and they just kind of let it fester and just beat themselves up about it. Like,
so many people. There's so much good information out there. That's why they need to watch the Mo Godat podcast.
Yeah,
because the information will change your life.
Because basically,
it's so smart. It's so easy. And
and the other way around that obviously would be, in my case, is there something you can do about it? Yes, I can. Restrict my calories. I can go to the gym, etc., etc. Whereas in your case, is there something you can do about that? No, you can't do anything about the fact that you had this really traumatic injury on your back. So the other step would be, well, you've got to live your best life, basically, in spite of that. And if you tell yourself that, and it sounds really simple, but if you're reinforcing those thoughts in your mind by repeating it back to yourself, it does really change the way that you feel over time. It's not going to be a quick fix. It's not just going to be like, oh, well, I'm going to live a better life in spite of that, and you're going to be like, oh, great, and then you go away and live your life. You need to keep telling yourself these things over and over and over again through positive affirmations.
Take practice.
Yeah, 100%.
Just like how people practice negative affirmations.
Yeah, exactly. We're all experts at that.
Yeah, we are. We are, and you just dig yourself down and down.
Exactly. So it's just, you've just got to train yourself out of that and train yourself to be an expert the other way. Yeah. And that's what Mo says. He's now at the stage where I think he says it's like 6 or 7 second turnaround or something like that. Yeah. So
he's a master of doing it. He says if he's going to sell this stuff to people, he needs to be the Olympian gold of it.
Yeah.
So he's spent
years practicing it. He says the black belt level and there's a Jedi level. He wants to be the Jedi level.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, that's a little reference for Paul and Colin there. Yeah. But I think that is kind of like in my eyes, the formula for happiness in life. Like, assess your life and the truth in your life and like look at that and see like what can I do with this and what do I want to do, and then once you've figured that out, it's a case of right, okay, do it, do the things that you want to do. It's like that's the thing. I think people think that being happy is it's a really complicated subject, but I do think the way that he's laid it out and how a lot of other people have laid it out, it's actually really simple. It's just, it's not an overnight fix. You've got to really, really train your brain to do that. And that's the thing, it's through neuroplasticity. It's actually like, see people that meditate a lot and are really good at meditating, their brains are literally different to our brains through neuroplasticity.
They're more at peace because they practice it every day.
Yeah.
Which is just an amazing thing.
Just the same.
Don't we all want to be just at peace with ourselves?
Yeah.
They just practice just being at that. I find that amazing.
Yeah.
It's like,
exactly. I mean, that's the thing. Those people will not be perfect either. They will still have times where things will piss them off and trigger them. But it's like
they'll be quicker to be able to deal with it.
They have the skills to deal with it. So
much quicker.
That's really all it's about, is having the skills to deal with what life throws at you. Because a lot of people don't have those skills, and when life inevitably does something, their perception of it is wrong, and they blame themselves, or they think like there's a lot of people out there that are like,
there's a lot that kills me. See when you see somebody doing it to themselves, like just beating themselves down over and over again, and you know, see if you could just learn a few wee techniques, or just learn how to change your mindset a wee bit, man, you'd be so much better off. That kills me when I see people like that.
It's a really frustrating thing for people.
The thing is, you can't tell them how to do it.
You can't tell them. They need to be.
They need to want to change themselves. That's the biggest lesson in therapy. Same with therapy, one-on-one. Nobody can change you. You have to do it yourself.
Yeah,
that's the thing. They'll give you the tools, obviously, in that.
Because you need to be ready to hear it. Because there could be people that are listening to this, and this could just go right over their head.
Yeah, you have to.
But there'll be other people that will hear these things and think, right, okay, I'm going to go and look this up, and I'm going to search for this.
You have to do it yourself. You have to want that change.
Yeah, but there's another good thing as well that's really helped me recently. Like I said, I'm quite a reactive person. I think there's a lot of people out there that are going to be reactive like myself, and there's somebody that we're going to get in next week. I'm not going to tell you who it is, because the people that know him will be really excited to hear who this guy is. Cammie's excited. Cammie knows.
I'm excited
as well. By the way,
I'll be the first one to watch it.
Well, what I'm going to say as well is, if you've enjoyed having Cammie on here, let us know, because I want Cammie to be around longer. Cammie's not sure if he wants to stay.
But well, it's not something I would normally do, like I said.
But we can find out. If all the comments are like, that Cammie guy is shit, don't ever have him back, then we'll know.
Yes, stay at home next time.
Yeah. But no, if you like what you're hearing, guys, remember to like and subscribe and all that. No, I'm not going to do that. I don't like to beg for the validation.
I think it's that button down there.
Aye, somewhere down there.
One over there.
Oh, look at us building rapport with the listeners, eh? But
we're only trying.
Aye, I know. But so now I've totally lost my train of thought.
Right, back to it.
Aye, so
happiness. We're on the positive.
I know that's it. The person that we're getting in next week is a really, really great guy as well. He's got a great story. I'm so buzzing that he's going to come on the podcast.
Has he done a podcast before?
Not that I'm aware of. So this is the world exclusive.
Brilliant.
Right. So I'm dying to tell you who it is, but I also really want the people that know who he is to be surprised when they see he's coming on.
I've been to a few of his classes as well with you, and the guy knows his stuff.
Aye, he does, and he's just like, see, as one I was saying to my friend Karen, who Hart and her daughter Megan were the people that introduced me to him, and there'll be times where you'll talk to him, right, and everything that he's saying is kind of going over your head that day, but even just having a conversation with a guy, you're just buzzing. So
the vibes,
I'm hoping those vibes.
He's got an aura around him, isn't he, of positivity.
So
that's the stage you want to get to.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just hoping those vibes can just translate through the screen, so people that watch them get the same happy feeling. But basically, that was a big tangent we went on there. But basically, what he told me about today, in terms of like there are certain people and things that just trigger me, and sometimes it can put me in a state where I'm just like tense and angry, and I'm really wanting to do or say something that I know I really shouldn't do or say, and I'm kind of just constantly fighting with my emotions. And he's like, what you need to do, and it sounds really simple, is like you have a certain threshold, and sometimes that person or a certain thing will happen and it will kind of break you through your threshold, and that's when you kind of get into this reactive, angry state. And what you need to do is basically just have a game with yourself and just like raise that threshold higher by just welcoming all those things. So when that when you see that thing that normally triggers you,
is that rather than run away from it and
not
deal with it?
Yeah, you need to face it head on and just be like the example that he gave. And he says his class is mostly women, so the way he told the story is not quite the way he told it to me. So he was saying that like he would have somebody come up to him, like he would have 2 bosses in his work, and he named them FUD 1 and FUD 2. And whenever they would come up to him with some more work, he'd just be like, at the time, this is before he'd kind of gone through his whole journey of mindfulness and that, he would just be like, oh, fuck's sake, here comes FUD 1, he's going to give me something that I really don't want to do and all that. And he says that he wishes he could go back to those days and just be like, oh yes, here comes FUD 1, right, he's got something for me today. And just be like really happy and like receive it well. Yeah. And I've been doing that with certain things that have been triggering me and just facing them, things that I normally would run away from. And it definitely helps. I mean, it's not easy, trust me, like at first, like that, I still get that triggering feeling, but because I know why I'm doing it, I've sort of got that expectation there for how I'm expecting it to go. It's a lot easier to deal with, and that's another thing that we were talking about as well today on the way up here is expectation. Is like basically if something is annoying you, like say for example him with his annoying bosses, if he's got the expectation that his bosses are going to be annoying, it's a lot harder for you to be triggered by those things that are annoying. If you've got the expectation they're already going to be annoying, you're ready for it. It's a lot easier. Or
in a case I had, it was I expect that boss to be a leader. I expect a lot from a boss. I always have. I had a really good boss early on in my career, and I kind of thought every boss had to live up to him. And they were so far off it. Yeah, I expected they should have been a leader. They should have had empathy. They should have cared about you. They should have had all the skills, all this. So every time I had a boss that wasn't up to his standards, it made me feel terrible. And didn't enjoy working with them.
Yeah,
so that was because my expectations were too high.
Aye, so if you have your expectations
but I always thought it was their fault, but it was actually kind of my fault.
Yeah, you were holding them to higher standards.
I had to take responsibility a wee bit myself for doing that.
That's a big thing, and that's the thing. It sounds quite a pessimistic attitude, and I don't like the idea of pessimism either, because I think you can get too pessimistic where like, oh, this is how it's going to be. Like you don't say this is how it's going to be. This is probably how it's going to be, but there's still a potential for it to be better, and that means that you're not going to be too disappointed if the bad thing that you're expecting is going to happen, but you're not going through life with this really like unconfident, pessimistic attitude of it's always going to go wrong, because that's just going to make you miserable.
Well, you want the balance of that and the optimism, like you said earlier on. I mean, expect the worst, hope for the best.
Yeah, exactly.
So you've got both ends of the scale. That's exactly. A really good. It's a better way to word it is like a healthy level of pessimism.
Healthy level of pessimism
is good to have.
Yeah, or a healthy level of expectation. It's that's a more positive spin on it.
It's good to have, because the world's a tragic place. I mean, we all go through pain and suffering. Everyone suffers tragedies. I mean, let's not hide that fact.
Aye,
because if you do, and then when it comes around, it's going to just beat you down.
Yeah,
and as if you're oblivious, as if the world was some perfect place. It's quite important to know.
Yeah,
be aware of that.
Aye.
So when bad stuff comes around, you're much better off dealing with it.
Definitely.
But you still got to be optimism as well.
Aye. Yeah, exactly.
Great things can still happen.
Because if you're just going through life just expecting everything to be terrible, you're not going to be very happy.
That's just pessimism as it is straight, isn't it?
Yeah.
But you want the balance to be right.
100%.
That's the best way to put it.
Aye. So there you have it, guys. Now everyone that's listening to this is just going to be happy forever, because we've just cracked it.
Yeah.
But that was really, really good conversation, Cammy. I'm grateful. I'm so grateful, guys, that Cammy came here today. You see what I've done there?
Thank you very much. I'm grateful to be here.
Aye, there we go.
It's a new experience.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. And I've loved it. Like I said, this place is cracking. And I couldn't really have asked for a better thing. So there's one last little thing that we've had prepared. I think I'm going to ask all my guests this, and the person that's coming on next week, and people that know this person might actually get a little hint of who this is when I do this little exercise. So I'd like you to describe yourself in 3 words, either how you see yourself, or how you would like to see yourself, or like other people to see you. So 3 words. Give me 3. And to help you,
do you want me to explain each word?
If you want to explain them, that would be great. Give a little bit more context. But just to help you out, my 3, I would say I'd like people to see me as being kind, fun and helpful, basically. Simple, short and simple.
Helpful, okay.
Aye.
That's short and sweet, yeah.
Yeah.
I would go for my first one, I would say balance, because I talk about balance a lot.
You do?
This is just kind of my belief. I don't know if anyone else believes it, but
I don't do that because I'm shite at balancing because my dyspraxia.
Yeah, well don't know what to say to that. Right, but balance, yeah, I believe balance relates to every aspect of your life. It really does.
I agree with that. I mean, what we were just talking about there's balance, isn't it?
Yeah, you know, that leads on to that well. I mean, I think the whole world revolves around it. I mean, you've got good, you've got evil, you've got hot, cold, you've got you know,
yin and yang.
Yin and yang. That's what I was looking for. I mean, it's just, or my favourite is every action has an equal and opposite reaction. Like that's true to all physics.
Aye.
I just believe it's everywhere balance. I think that's something the key to life and some mad belief I've had. Yeah. So it can relate to everything. See if you're too much one way or too much the other way. It's all about getting in the right middle zone.
Aye.
So balance is a big one for me. Second one, I will say resilience.
Which is something that, based on what you've had experience, is definitely something.
It's probably something, that I've learned to be. But I think everyone should have a good level of resilience to be ready for the shit storm when it comes. And it's going to make you a much stronger character, probably. It's quite an important one. And also, and I'm going to end it on gratitude. I know it's funny how these words we've been saying anyway throughout the podcast, but gratitude.
That's because they're so important, man.
They're so important. You just got to practice each one of them. You've got to just be conscious of it and think about it every day. If something's getting you down, how can is it balance off? Do I need to be more resilient, or do I need to be more grateful? You know. So, and grateful is my favourite word right now. I'm just going to keep saying it. Yeah, gratitude.
It is, and that's the thing how we were talking about.
Because I've practiced it so much over the last few years. I'm telling you now, the more I've practiced it, the easier it's got, and it's brilliant. I mean, I can be grateful for something and get a warm feeling come over my body and just feel happy. Even if I'm in a bad place, I can just turn my mindset around just through this practice. You know, I think that's amazing. Why is not everyone doing that?
I know. That's the thing. I think people need to be given that information, definitely. I don't think it's something that people think of, because there's a lot of people out there that are just constantly looking at what they don't have and are beating themselves up about that. And I did that for a long time.
Social media doesn't help. That's all about looking at what you don't have and what you want. And
maybe that could be a future episode. We could talk about actually social media.
There's a lot to talk about in there. But I mean, that's not healthy. I don't feel, unless that's all about looking.
I think there's definitely good and bad points to it.
There is, but let's not go on a tangent with that. We'll be here all day.
But it's definitely gratitude, I would say, is a good way to end it, because that's kind of the message I want to get across, because it's a practice thing. So what I'd advise everyone, instead of just looking up all the time, take some time to look around and maybe look down as well, and just see that things around you aren't so bad, and you could always be worse off than you are. That's what I'm going to end it on today. So thanks, Troops, for listening. We're really grateful for it, and hopefully we'll be back again soon. Cheers.